Listen, folks, Emma is unable to join us, our Duchess of Digital, our techno queen, Emma Robinson, but I'm delighted to be joined for our technical slot today by Professor Kevin Curran. Kevin, how's the form?
Good morning, Mark.
You just got a message there. Are you in America?
No. I'm in Northern Ireland.
All right, okay. It's 2:45, yeah. Kevin.
I know.
Listen, what about this apps going forward, Kevin, in terms of vaccine passports, all the rest? What's your take on all that?
My take is they have to do something, obviously, and an app is the most obvious way because, of course, we all get our vaccines and we get a little card, a manual card, but of course, anyone with a photocopier could get around that. So we have to have some techniques to be able to prove when it comes to security, when it comes to border control, that and an app is something that's harder to cheat.
I don't know, Kevin, how do you feel about all that? I mean, obviously people talk about human rights, and I mean, we have to have photo ID here, for example, to vote. They're trying to make it the same across the water. People can feel very edgy about this stuff.
They can, but and there's a lot of people I know who don't want the vaccine, but because they're frequent travelers, they know they have to get it. And of course, ultimately, what we do, we want as many people to have it as because it is working. Again, that's the way it is in countries. Why would countries let people in without a proper coronavirus test or without having shown they've got the vaccine? We're seeing what's happening in India. And even though the border is still open, which is incredible.
Well, we heard from Verinda in India, and it's terrifying what they're saying. There's not a reason in the world why that couldn't, shouldn't, or wouldn't spread to this part of the world. I have the Tuesday figures just in, by the way, Kevin, forgive me. Previous Tuesdays, new cases of COVID in Northern Ireland, 112, 124, 109, 83. Today, 89, so it's plateaued, if not slightly up. And sadly, a death to report today, the first Tuesday in 3 that we reported a death. We're far from out of this thing, Kevin.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, it is great. It's great that the vaccines work, and it's great that the governments are rolling it out, especially in the UK. Again, just the fact summer is coming. Unfortunately, the weather has been crap for the last few weeks, but that really makes a difference because people are really sick. People are up to their teeth with the COVID, and we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, which is good. And if this app helps, helps us travel, helps us go on holidays and everything, and helps keep the country safe from people coming in here with COVID, well then so be it.
Yeah, 33 Northern Ireland, the rate per 100,000, the 7-day rate per 100,000. Derry's triple that, by the way. We're still top of the tree, 92% folks, or 92 per 100,000. I don't know, that's a really stark message there. People need to make up their own minds about it, of course. So, Kevin, thinking about getting back on a plane, you'll have your vote, you'll have your COVID passport, you hope. Will you have your mask and your visor? Will you be taking maximum precautions, or will you be trusting your vaccine?
I've never worried myself. I wear the mask for other people. I've always did that thing. Of course, and I've flown quite a lot in the last year, and I've seen all the differences in flights. I've seen where you had to put your hand up on a plane before you could go to the toilet. I've seen all those controls again, and that differs from airline to airline. But of course, you'll have to wear a mask for a long time on public transport. That's one of the places here.
Listen, the anthropology of smartphones is fascinating. I studied a wee bit of that way dozens of years ago, Kevin. But the anthropology of our smartphone, I honestly was thinking about this yesterday, how utterly dependent on it I have become for friendship, food, knowing what's going on in the world outside my wee COVID bubble. And there's now an anthropology of smartphones.
There is, yeah, and they're saying that they've become our home. That we say we go home to our smartphone. So if someone gets a message and you're with them, of course they're going to answer the phone usually, and they're calling that the death of proximity. Because again, and it's really the chat apps. And again, the survey actually conducted was mostly for older people in 7 countries, from Ireland to Cameroon, and they found again that this is how elderly parents, proud parents, and everybody keep in touch with their families and grandparents and everything else. And it's just become so important. But the downside is, of course, when we go home, of course, our emails are also on our phones and everything else. And unlike 20, 30 years ago, now when we go home, we just can't turn out from work. We feel we have to reply to emails. We feel we're on all the time. And that's just something we have to deal with.
I mean, it's University College London. Professor Daniel Miller says the smartphone is no longer just a device. It's become the place where we live. The place where we live, Kevin.
It is, yeah. And unfortunately, like in the past, say you were a kid and you were being bullied at school, you would get refuge when you go home. But now with obviously all the online social media networks, you don't have the refuge anymore. You know, if you were a kid being bullied and someone was posting something about you on social networks. So again, there's upsides and downsides to technology, and there always will be.
Okay, this pipeline in America, I don't understand this. I don't know why American systems can't be closed. Obviously, the internet is global. Kevin, they're calling it colonial hack and they're blaming the Russians for closing off a hugely influential oil pipeline on the eastern seaboard of the States. And then suddenly then you realise how important digital is in the modern world and our daily practicalities.
It is, yeah. And this is just the start of modern nightmares again. So this pipeline controls basically 50% of the fuel in North America. It runs from Texas, Houston, Texas, all the way up to New Jersey. And of course, the hackers come in, and it's not a government thing. It's a dark side, they're called. They're an established group of ransomware hackers where they encrypt all the information on these systems. It is very difficult to what we call kind of block your systems, called air gapping. It's where you have systems which are not connected to the internet. But of course, you can imagine with COVID, most of these employees were probably working remotely and logging in and doing their things, and everything is controlled digitally. You have pressure sensors, you have thermostats, you have valves and pumps, and these are used to monitor and control the flow of diesel, petrol and jet fuel across thousands of miles of piping. And of course, it's done by computers. And again, that's the problem. I mean, you remember last year with Visa, the Visa network went down just because of a technical hitch, and people couldn't buy tickets because people don't carry cash anymore. And you're going to see airlines in the future, because we don't really have the paper backups anymore. Technology runs our systems, and this is just the start of it. And of course, behind this is ransomware, because these guys can now ask for money using Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, and they can be anywhere in the world, and they're untraceable. And that's the thing about the modern world. The cryptocurrencies have enabled people like this to make money.
Yeah. Royal Mail and drones. I mean, it's only a matter of time. I mean, you've got fellas walking around with a satchel on their back around our way. You know, in 1,000 years, it'll probably be like Star Wars, just zooming along. I don't know how they're going to power them, and multi-universal and all the rest. But anyway, Royal Mail's looking at drones, Kevin.
They are, yeah. They're trialling the use of drones to deliver health and safety equipment, COVID testing kits, and other items to the Isles of Sicily. So in other words, they have a larger drone which carries 100 kilograms of mail, and it's able to fly, obviously, the Isle of Sicily, and then a delivery person there at the other end able to collect it and transport it. And it's to save fuel, really.
I think it's a hell of a trip to Sicily. I think it's the Scilly Isles off England, isn't it?
It is Sicilia, yeah, exactly.
Okay, but I mean, Kevin, it makes sense. If you can get a drone from, at the minute, apparently if you post a letter in Derry from the water side of the city, said it goes via Belfast and all the rest. If this postal system can be micro-local like that, I mean, you can see the benefits immediately.
You could, yeah. It'll be a while before that, because again, like, for instance, I'm living in a second floor apartment. Like, how will the drone get to me? Really, you still need a human here.
Well, you'll need a wee helipad.
Exactly. It works for people it works for people with gardens where the drone can land outside. But again, we got to worry about kids. So but there's a way to protect the blades again from kids. But again, no, generally the first trials are always in these hilly regions where a truck might have to go up 20 miles of bendy road or whatever, rather than stay at the bottom and launch a drone and then send it to the destination. So again, there's always use cases for these, but eventually it will roll out, because they're amazing. They're autonomous. They know where they are. The GPS coordinates are so accurate.
Yeah, but I don't know. I was going to say they don't know where each other are. I mean, what about the dystopia of a sky full of drones? I don't want to be sitting in the back garden on a summer's day, Kevin, and a sky full of...
You say that, but actually, what if you can get your parcel a day earlier, and everyone wants whatever they order immediately? You would subscribe like everyone else. It's just a fact that you just will. Of course, yeah, that's the downside. Who wants them? But again, they might not be as noisy as you think in the future.
Boy. Kevin, an awful lot of ground covered there. Listen, thanks for joining us today. The thoughts of Professor Kevin Curran there from the Ulster University at Magee. A wee drone delivery from Royal Mail. I think there's probably huge implications there for criminality as well, in terms of, well, you can do your own thinking on that.